What is up? Bridging the Gap. We are back. It's the show where we have chapstick, but we don't eat it. So today,
What
we're.
the fuck?
I tried to be creative with it. I didn't have anything on top of my head. We
You
just rolled with it.
eat,
I had a
Dev,
piece. I
I
had
think
some
you eat your
chapstick in my hand.
chapstick.
I had some chapstick in my hand. I thought about eating it. Didn't. It's
Alright.
as always. It's Dev here with your guy, Coach B. What it do, Coach? What are we getting into today?
There's a lot of shit going on. We're gonna talk about the Bezos, his little issue he's got up there. He stands to lose a lot of money. The education system in America, they got that LA strike going on there. We're gonna touch on some of that, how it
Right,
affects our
right.
whole country, and we're gonna start it off with a little update on some R. Kelly stuff. I know people been beating this to death, but this type of information is what people should be really looking at.
Coming out the closet.
Come out the fucking closet, Dev. I know you've been hiding, motherfucker.
Yeah, fuck you. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah. So now tell us what you were gonna say about R. Kelly with the update of the music, like the actual record company that owns his basically his money. They're making money off of this whole thing that's going on.
And
Well,
this tells a lot right here. This tells me a lot. RCA has like put his record. He's supposed to have some music coming out, so they put it on the shelf. They're not going to put it out. That to me, the scrutiny's getting to him and all that and all that. But that tells me a lot about R. Kelly because in that song, that 11-minute song, I admitted he did. He says in that song that he signed some bad paperwork and he doesn't own his masters. And that's what you go into the game for, to own your masters. To me, that tells me that he was in so many situations that the record company probably helped cover up, and he had to sign off points to his records to get them to help him, get the machine behind him, to get him to keep working. I think he really only makes his money off of touring. Now, if we shut those tours down, we can get him the fuck up out of here quick. But from my understanding, he's been having some tours and bullshit been going on. Where he had one over the weekend that got canceled, but he also had one too that was successful. So his music streams went up 116%. I think this dude is almost broke, bankrupt, and I think that's how we get him out of here, just by not going to none of that shit.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's got to be living on a leg or something. But at the same time, people are going to his shows, even if they're buying a ticket to like throw food at him. They're still giving him money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
In a
I mean,
sense,
but I
a
don't think
small
it's
point.
sustainable.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, if you don't go and support it, or you just let them die, I mean, that's how usually I think most things go away. And this particular thing is like, but like you ignore them and like they go away. You'd think, but no, they still exist. And so like I don't know what you do at this particular point. You know,
I think Joe, if you don't want him around here, you don't want to hear about it no more. Stop fucking saying you're gonna support his music. I'm not supporting that shit. That dude's a creeper. People are fucking going back and forth with the stuff. Like, yo, it's just they're trying to take him down. What about, especially in the black community? I'm having arguments with people all the time. It's split in the black. They're like, dude's a creeper. Or you got people be like, oh, they're just trying to tear him down. What about Harvey Weinstein? What about these people are on the news every day getting torn down? Kevin Spacey just went to court, got pulled over by the cop. Everybody's getting it. I want to know is this where we're finally going to get all the creepers up out of the entertainment business? Raid Hollywood. You had, what's his name? What's that teenage kid that came out with the Hollywood ones, but you haven't heard from him since the summer. I think it was last summer he came out. He used to be a Hollywood star. I forget his name, but I'll think of it here in a minute. And he said there's a lot of pedophilia going on, and he brought out a tell all, but you haven't heard from him after he did all those interviews and said he was going to do it. It's been dead silence. So is the power shifting? Are we going to start cleaning up the entertainment and stop looking the other way because people are making money? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I mean, the media conglomerate is pretty big, and the minute you open your mouth, I mean, I guarantee you the media companies don't want to talk about that because there might be some higher ups, like that have control over, that particular thing. There might be even people within the media, like the media business, that want to talk about it, but the people that own those media companies, right, like the people within it, they're probably not with it. But the people who own those media companies are probably the people that are at the top that do that stuff, and they're signing the checks. So they're like, well, we can't expose it because then, we're gone. You know what I mean? And I would have to say that it all depends. It really does depend because this R. Kelly show on Lifetime got a lot of traction. It was one of the best received shows on that network in forever. So you have to start thinking, is this going to like open up that can of worms, or more and more and more people are going to start being like, well, we need to expose R. Kelly, and we already know there's more people in this this area of entertainment and business that are doing these things. So are we going to expose them, and how are we going to go about doing it?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think people are abusing the power, especially when you're doing it to underage people. Grown adults, I mean, if you're the Bill Cosby thing and all this stuff, I mean, you got so many things that go on when people in positions of power that, like you said, the media is do you believe, like everybody says, and I think it's fact too, that there's only like 6 companies that control all the media? Do you believe in that?
I would probably say there's probably about 6. I mean, there are other companies in the media, don't get me wrong, but
they're branded by these companies.
Yeah, either they're bought or they're so insignificant they don't have much of a impact on the greater media output. Like they don't have that good of an impact. So yeah, I would say most media companies are owned by like 6. The 6, 6. But there's probably smaller ones. Like I said, they have no effect because they're so small. They're definitely market.
Yeah, and do we believe that net neutrality on how they're going to do that and start implementing that? Do we believe that they're going to try to stop us independent people like us that might get a big following and be able to get information? Because we always say around here, bridging the gap, don't take our word for it. Research. And there's so many platforms out here where you could get good information that you're not, that we just talked about, that those big companies are controlling. Because if you only got 6 people that are controlling what comes into your TV every day and how you get your news, they can control the narrative. But with this, like the YouTube and people doing their own journalistic stuff and coming doing research and giving out information, do you think that they will do something? Is that what this net neutrality is about? Like trying to stop people from being able to get their content out?
Well, they're trying to make it more difficult, I would say, because then you're going to need more money to start up, because it's going to cost you more money to get traffic and to have the faster internet speeds, and because that's stuff that they could eventually employ. So I think that net neutrality could be a way to limit that, because there are so many people out there now that there's like multiple people that can speak on it. Like even the little groups, like say we're a channel with like 110 subs, right? And then there's like 500 other channels with 110 subs talking about the same story that everybody else is ignoring because it's not making the news, right? But that's still pretty big. That could still be a pretty big drip in the pond, like a lot of people could see those individual videos talking about this topic that the media doesn't want people to know about or hear about or talk about. And I was saying, like, now for us, like a show like us, right, and we start talking about the truth and we start saying things like this, well, Coach, I'll tell you there's either 2 things. Either someone's going to come knocking on our door trying to buy us out, or, if we keep talking, who knows, maybe we'll end up dead.
Hey, whoa! Nah, because I'm in here, like, I'm bored. I'm bored up. I'm always boarded up. Every door's locked. Remember when you came over, you were like, who locks the I locked that door. Guns everywhere. I'm ready for it. If I'm going out blazing.
Oh no, they wouldn't do it like that. It would just be, it'd be something so subtle. Wouldn't you? You'd be like looking out the window, snap. You gotta live your life at some point. They're gonna put some poison in your water. They do something crazy just to get you. I mean, that's how they work.
I believe it, but some things you just can't. I believe it happens all the time. There's just no doubt.
I'm not saying that's gonna happen.
No, I'm just saying I believe if you go run and fine-tooth comb through history, you'll find a lot of unexplainable things that happen, and to this date that happen, and many various things that they don't want you to know, the powers that be that don't want you to know. I just think in the manner of, like, to get the information, like they say, woke, on being woke, you, like, smaller platforms like ours is where I get my information from. Like, I'll look at the mainstream, they're going to talk about the same thing over and over. I'll get some information, and then I'll say to myself, what about this? And then I'll go to the smaller platforms and be like, oh, they're pointing out what we really need to know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or yeah, I mean, you just gotta, I think it's always like the thing about the media is it's always putting a spotlight on like one thing, and then like there's like all these other things that are going on in the news that no one's talking about that could, they need the light shine on them. You gotta shine, especially with media companies and business, you gotta look in the dark, like where the light's not shining, that's where you need to look. You know, the cracks and crevices.
Yeah, I think that's all it is. And speaking on all that power, the power that people got, we see Jeff in the news, Jeff Bezos. I don't know how this happened, but we don't even know for sure. But he's said to be getting divorced from his wife Mackenzie for 23. That they've been married for 23 years, and they might not have a prenup in that scenario. I'm confused about it because, well, I'm really not confused because if you dig the whole story, they met like in the 80s, 90s or something like that, late 80s, early 90s. At a job they were working, crowdfunding, that thing that people were doing, stocks, things back then. They had an idea. Well, he had the idea. They moved, and while they were driving to I think they were going to California, I think it was. And while they were driving, they drove that whole time. He started writing out the business plan for Amazon, and she was bouncing ideas off of him. And then they didn't have the company, company didn't start growing until they were big. So at that particular point, if that's my girl, we're riding and I plan that future and she's helping me with this, do we think that she deserved, like, there shouldn't have been a prenup? She deserves to get half of everything?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those tricky things. If you're a person that like believes that ideas are, I mean, yeah, ideas are worth a lot, but it's the application of the ideas. I mean, because people have ideas every day. The guy walking down the street picking his nose, chewing gum, whatever, at the same time, he might come up with an idea which might be $1 million idea, but if he doesn't have the knowledge or the way to apply that idea, and then there's someone who says maybe here's his idea and makes it come into being, right? Like makes it come to fruition, and he has either the means or he did the extra mile and designed it. Because like I said, there's people that come up with ideas all the time, like what would be something like the slap chop, like that slap chop thing, right? You know what I'm talking about? The thing where like you'd put the food in and you'd slap it, and like it would chop up your food or mince it for you really quick. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
remember the commercial? Yeah. Well, if we're using that as an example, like there might be the guy who come up with that. And like who said off the top of his head, it'd be nice if like I could slice my food without using my hand. I could just do it real quick by putting the onion underneath it and slapping it or something. But they didn't. They had the idea, didn't design the mechanism. But then a guy comes along and hears the idea and goes, "Well, I know how to design that. Let me design the mechanism." Right, but they didn't get a patent, they didn't get any of that. So it's one of those type deals. Now, if we're talking like the girl,
I think that's a little different.
But if the girl come up with like, say, like she was bouncing ideas off of him.
She grinded with him, is what I'm saying.
She grinded with him. She like helped him build the business, and
she helped him build the business. That's his wife.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, yeah,
that's totally different than stealing somebody's or patenting something and stealing somebody's idea.
Right.
That
you're breaking up, Coach. I can't hear you.
They were saying.
Okay.
They were saying. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
They were saying. He's saying, okay. You're my lady. I got this idea. Let's go. Let's build it. She's got I think if they didn't sit down and decide and say, hey, here's a prenup, I think she deserves what the law says. She's got to get what, she says, especially if he went out and did some nut stuff. But in saying that, there's a lot to lose. He's still going to be rich as hell. She will become, if there's no prenup and they actually get half, she will be of as of today it's 137 billion. She gets half. She will get $60 billion in stocks alone. That's not counting splitting up the actual assets and the planes, the mansions, the cars, the other assets that they got,
just the cash,
the actual cash, stuff like that. She will become richer. She will be the richest known woman that's documents their stuff in the world, passing the Alice Walton.
It's crazy. It's crazy if that's just all. So that's just all the money in like financial. Not trying to talk about assets. We're not talking about the business, the corporation. And it's weird from a business standpoint because you think with all that money, you'd be throwing it back into the business somehow, but you just have all that money. Okay, so the money isn't like we're not talking that's like the cash money. Is that the cash?
No, when they say net worth,
they're talking about everything.
That's everything.
Okay.
That's anything that you can liquidate.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, because when you started saying about not the mansions and the jets and everything, like, and that's
Yeah,
so
it just says the 137 billion. I'm sure that the mansions and the assets and that stuff's in there,
okay,
but it says she's gonna get $60 billion worth of Amazon stock alone.
okay, yeah. So that okay, so she's getting a shit ton of money. When you first said
Wait,
that, well, when you first said that, I was a little weirded out because I was like, wait, I'm like, so she's just getting like a stupid amount of cash, and that's not even including like everything else. I was like, I was about to geek out because I'm like, holy fuck, like that if someone's worth like almost $1 trillion, they're too rich. Like, I'm sorry, like if you're worth $1 trillion, you're too rich. Like, you have too much money.
yeah, I mean, and that's a question to wonder. I wonder what his give back is. What does he give back? How much does he really give back? Do you think he does? Do you think he's the type of person that gives back?
When you're that rich, I mean, giving back is kind of like a drop in the bucket. And besides, you could probably, if you did your taxes right, you probably get half that back or something, or whatever, like a write off. And that's what I mean. Like,
But what is he giving it back to? Is he giving it back to, like, a lot of rich people usually give it to like rich people?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? They're not giving it to like Elon Musk did. Like Elon Musk just got those filters for all the schools in Flint. They're not doing stuff like that. They're
yeah,
giving it to colleges to build a library, put my name on that. They're
yeah,
doing stuff like that.
yeah, kind of like worship me kind of deals where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, put my name on shit, make me look
So,
cool.
so
That
when I walk through the campus, they're not walking through the hood doing this stuff where what's really needed in the poor America. They want poor America. That's why I'm asking.
they
Do
want
you
more.
think he's one of those guys that are doing that, or is he one of those guys that are actually in the grind, in the mix, saying, "Hey, we can help these people"?
Well, the short answer would be no, I don't think so. I mean, I think the guy probably puts his money in like a lot of political things too, lobby wise and stuff. I
Oh,
know
hell
that
yeah,
for a fact. So, I
hell
mean,
yeah.
all that money, I think all the money that he's giving out it probably has some kind of basis just to build more business off of it. I mean, I'm sure he does give back somewhere along the line, but not like to the point where it's like, wow, Bezos, you're really a humanitarian. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like, like some little thing here, like that. I mean, it barely even matters in the large scheme of things, especially with that kind of money. So yeah, my answer is no, essentially. But I mean, I'm sure somewhere along the line, Bezos has his name or his money embezzled, or not embezzled, but
Oh,
embedded
he's
with.
got some offshores.
Yeah, but I
He's
mean,
got.
like
he's,
embedded. He has money embedded in like charities and stuff, like in the United States. Like, I guarantee he's got
oh,
his hat.
I thought you meant is he hiding money?
Oh, I mean,
Hell yeah, he's hiding money.
I
Sorry.
mean, but that's every company. I mean, Apple, and them, they do that shit all the time. They hide all their money and shit in other countries, and they have factories and like not just factories outside of the country, but I can't think of the word for it. Like they
Is that?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was asking a question about that. That's what I'm saying about these companies. Like, why they don't, like how we're talking about all this craziness about the small percentage of illegals that come in here and do crimes and taking jobs. They're not taking the big jobs because, and if they are, why do these companies hire them? Why they ain't going after these companies? Why are we giving tax break for them to take jobs out of here and say, bring these jobs here, we'll give you tax break for them? Say cheaper labor. Is this corporate greed that they're doing? Is there a way that can be restructured to where it can help American workers get jobs, or do they really even want us to have jobs?
No. I mean, well, they want us to have jobs because they want us to produce GDP, but the problem is like these big corporations are greedy, so they go over to other countries where they save money, and that helps their bottom line, so they can produce more things because Americans are consumers, and they could produce things cheaper, which then they could sell it to you cheaper. But then they're building it. What they're helping is the production, the GDP of other countries, like say China, Australia, Japan, wherever the hell they decide to put a factory or whatever. Yeah, usually a factory to do these things and produce these things. So when we're talking about is there a way to get more jobs? Like, do they really want us to have more jobs? If you're asking that question, then I think the answer is yeah, they want us to have jobs. But the big corporations, like you don't see too many big corporate factories in America, unless maybe they're automotive. But outside of that, and the reason why we have a lot of automotive countries here in America is because if we took Ford overseas, no one drives a Ford. No one gives a fuck about a Ford truck. You know what I mean?
But they can make them cheaper and sell them back here. That's the thing that I'm
no,
saying.
oh no, what
They're
I'm
making them cheaper with their labor, paying them the money to make them, and then they're selling them back to us and
right,
their American companies.
right, yeah, exactly. They but,
That doesn't make any fucking sense to me
right,
at all. And
or
they're getting rewarded for it because they're opening their bank checkbooks to the politicians.
mm-hmm.
And then the politicians allow them to do that when the politicians can easily go in there and make a law that says you can't do that no more.
Yeah, they could make a law, but then what would happen is those businesses would leave our country. They would leave the bases and they would go somewhere else. They would just make a basis in China or whatever. They wouldn't even want to give back to us because they would go to other countries because China would have less strict rules, right? And that's why a lot of companies go there, a lot of businesses go there, and factories, whatnot, because they have less strict rules on that kind of shit, and they can just come over here and say, all right, this is what we're doing. That's why, like, when you see those pictures of China with like the pollution and all that shit, because they don't give a fuck. Like, they don't have to adhere to any of those rules. They just, China's like, yeah, give us the money, give us the means of production, and
But do you think? I mean, I don't think countries would. I would think countries, if you developed a plan like I've talked about many a times, that said that this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you these breaks. We're going to allow you to do these certain type of things within the law. But you're going to have like, what is Google doing? Amazon's buying up a whole bunch of stuff too to make companies to train people, American people, to put them back to work. They're making little cities, like training facility. You live on there and you work for these to bring in the best mind, but they're also bringing people in from other countries. They're bringing the smart. Even President Trump said that we want to get the smartest people in the world to come in here. But if we're saying America first, shouldn't we be grabbing the great minds and training the great minds of our country and bringing them in there and putting them in position to be the next big company, to create more jobs and stuff like that? So in the bottom line, to me, I think they want us dependent. They don't want everybody to have jobs. They do not want people to go off of the welfare system, food stamp. They don't want that. They want the poor to stay poor, and then middle class stay middle class. And it's a system that's been working for years. They don't want that to change.
Right, because trickle-down economics doesn't work at this point. I mean, it's been proven.
It's bullshit. It's just...
yeah, what did George Carlin say? That was always one of my favorite things. He said the middle class does all the work, so the upper class doesn't have to do nothing, and they keep the lower class just to scare the shit out of the middle class. So he said, see, they made the poor, so like the middle class, they're like, hey, if you stop working, you're gonna. This is what will happen. Yeah, so they're
it's
like
brainwashed. Do you ever think about that though? That is a thing, bro. Where think about this. Like we have conversations a lot where, like we'll say science, and then we'll say like comparing it to like how do we know what that's like factual? Because it's been pumped into our brain. That's what it is. It's a brainwash. It's a brainwash, just like you're saying about that stuff. And that's true. There's people up there that are saying this philosophy's been working for years. We just got to find slicker ways to do it now.
Mm-hmm. What I was going to say, like, this is like a really philosophical kind of thing, but if there wasn't a poor community, right, say like all humans are like equal, they can all pursue their own thing and like be happy, would it be fun anymore if like there was no challenge to it? Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's a really weird philosophical thing, but I always think about it, like, because I mean, it's not that I mean, because we'd all be happy with $1 million, right? Like, we'd all be happy if we got rich like that, and we got to do, we had the idea, we had a choice with our life, but like, that's only in contrast to like what the alternative is. But imagine if there was no alternative, like there wasn't no poor, like you would just get $1 million, you wouldn't really be poor, and you had enough money to do what you wanted to do, right? Like, there was no limit on it. Wouldn't it be kind of crazy, like, in contrast? That it's
go ahead.
That's all I was gonna say. So in contrast, like, there is no poor now, right? And then like everybody's like the middle class or the high class, right? Which then technically you could say that was the lower class and the upper class. But at the same time, if you had enough money where you could live comfortably, everybody could live comfortably, right? Or they had the whatever to live comfortably. Would it feel like would life be as fulfilling?
Like if they just said tomorrow, like a special bulletin came across the board and said everybody's getting $1 million.
Yeah, right. Like just something like that. We're just saying crazy hypothetical.
Oh, I think if you just said that and just gave it out with no kind of restrictions for you to get it, like say, well, you have to stay at your job for You'll get it in increments. Like, I believe it would stimulate the comment. It would stimulate some people. It would help some companies that have been trying to get off the ground. Either you're going to use it or blow it. Think about. I mean, I that raises a good fucking question. How many people are in America? 360 million.
Yeah, something like that.
So if you gave everybody $1 million, that would be what, 360 trillion?
Yeah.
Don't we spend that on a war? Like
no, I think it was 12 trillion for the
12 trillion.
I mean, okay. It'd be impossible. Like, I mean, we're talking about like an almost an impossible amount of money, right? But I'm just saying, like, how fulfilling.
That's not an impossible amount of money.
I mean,
not for a government that can make shit pop.
Well, no, I mean, but I'm saying like it would destroy like the country. I mean,
no, it would destroy big businesses.
Right. Well, you would have. I mean, to have enough money, you would have to take it from big businesses, which would be basically like robbing them. And even though I agree with trickle down economics not working and like that some businesses are too big, if businesses have money to spend and innovate and stuff like that, I don't feel like it's right to take all of their fucking money away. Now, at the same time, I don't feel like they should have as much. There should be, obviously higher taxes.
I think you should tax by the amount.
Right.
If you're making billions of dollars and you're just taking lavish trips, writing it off on everything that you can write off and do all that stuff and you're in that tax bracket. I mean, and all the little tricks and trades you can do with that money, why you don't pay the same fair amount that the working people? That is not a good philosophy to me. It's that simple. If you're making billions, you should be paying billions the same percentage of the Joe Schmo that goes to the fucking punches a clock every day.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense that we give you tax breaks and you so you guys can hoard your money. There's no logical thing in there that could be explained to me. There's nothing.
Yeah,
it just can't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so that was my only question of like thinking about is like, would your life be as fulfilled if like you were handed $1 million, then you didn't get to grind your way up to the top? Because if me and you were handed $1 million, I mean, we could make this bridging the gap thing pop like it was nothing. Like, I mean, not like it was nothing, but like we could make it pop. We'd still have to make good investment decisions, and I'm sure actually the class system would probably revert back down. Are you there, Coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm listening to you.
No, it looked like it literally looked like you were like so still. It looked like your fucking face was frozen. So I thought like the thing cut out. But
it was a Blair Witch.
Blair Witch.
Blair Witch. Nah.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, I think actually the class system would probably reavert itself because we all know somebody who would get that $1 million, right? Like, say we all get $1 million, right? And there's people like me and you who'd be like, all right, we're gonna make this money work for us. So that way we don't ever have to, we can work and do what we want to do and we'll be fulfilled. But there's going to be people out there that are going to get that $1 million and they're just going to blow it, or they're going to invest it right, or not going to use it for any, and then they're going to head right back down to where they were, Yeah.
So it would reassert itself. I think that it would I think it would happen quickly too.
I think you'd have to have a system.
Quickly.
Yeah.
People would go right back to, it would help. Probably, I would give it probably around 35 to 40% of the people would actually do smart and get themselves somewhere in life with that money. The other 60 will be right back where they were at within a year.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, what would be kind of cool would be you'd probably see the growth of the middle class. The middle class would probably grow by like that 30-40%. So then you'd have more people in the middle class working.
And then the middle class would bump up too, though.
Yeah, right. They'd probably bump up because you would probably, the people that are coming from the lower class and the middle class would probably either piggyback or make associations with the middle class, which would then help their businesses and in turn help boost their profit margin or get them up. Or the spending, because if everybody has $1 million to spend, right? Everybody in the lower class has $1 million to spend. I mean, that spending, those middle class businesses are going to get some of that money.
They're going to upgrade, yeah. Yeah, the poor is probably going to spend it, middle class and the higher class, because we tend to do that, and that's the main thing too, what you're saying, like that thing would circulate. Everybody would still get the same amount of spending. I think that actually the bigger companies would probably get the spending, because that would be the 60% that would be blowing it, because instead of them actually putting it into something that's going to make them money in the long run and build, they're going to go buy them from Mercedes. I'm gonna go buy
Lotus Elise or a fucking not a Bugatti Veyron. I think a Bugatti Veyron cost $1 million.
Or a Bentley. You're gonna spend $250,000. You know what I'm saying, on a Bentley. You know what I'm saying? Just to have it. But what is it going to do for you? It depreciates.
Yeah.
People are that stupid. So I think yeah, it would definitely benefit the richer people, but the people like the I think the middle class that were working busting their butt, they would probably be able to get in that bracket with that because they had a plan development or they were working on something. Probably a lot of business owners that could catapult it into the next level of things. And I think everybody would move up, but the dumb, no, I think just that the lower class people would move up for a little bit, and then that 60% would drop back down, and it would quickly identify the people that were really been grinding. They just maybe didn't catch a break, or the ideas didn't work, but they're still grinding. I think they would be able to identify quickly the people that really deserved it. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's exactly how that would play out. And like you said too, the increased spending of the lower class with that money would probably go all into the middle class and higher classes, so they'd make their money back almost because of all the spending, because there'd be people that would buy the stupid shit, or they just wouldn't invest it right. But even, but I was even saying, me and you bought we're saying like me and you each got $1,000,000. I mean, me and you could make this bridging the gap thing really go if we had like even what, like 20,000. I mean, if we want to go like big, if we were gonna go big, we could probably do like with like if we had 300,000, like just 300,000 between the two of us, right? So we would still have.
Take the five. I would take the five and make up a year plan with that five budget, traveling, promo, all that stuff.
Yeah,
and just go
and
get
it'd be
it.
that easy. And that's what I'm saying is like it'd be that easy though. Like
And then the other
have
stuff,
all the other money,
invest in the other stuff, put some in the bank, and then just let it have that for to build.
Yeah, and use that other. For me, it'd probably be like you said, putting in that 500,000 to build this up or whatever other project or like other business or whatever idea that I had.
Well, it'd be two of us, so we would really
just need
50.
Yeah, right.
Bridge the gap, and then we'd have 750 for.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we both have 750. So, and like I said, invest that. Put the rest of that. I'd probably put that money into like some, not charity. I don't like giving money to charity. As I shared that thing, I talked about the Red Cross. Yeah, I'd create one. Yeah, did you see that the thing when I was talking about the Red Cross?
Yeah, I seen that.
They got like what was like something like millions of dollars. They only built 6 homes. That's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
It's robbery. It's robbery because they just people could send pennies on the dollar to them, and what I mean, no one's thinking about where it's really going at the end of the day. They're like, well, we could just send pennies and pennies and pennies, and by the end of they're making millions of dollars worth in pennies, dollars, $10 donations.
They're rackets. They're coming in like it's only 30 cents a month, but if you got a million people sending in 30 cents a month, you're banking. Yeah. I mean, I actually looked into that one day. I can't give you the numbers. We should have put that on the list. We'll talk about that at some time because it's very interesting. Places like the Salvation Army, you see their net worth and the things that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't see it's racketeering to me.
Like they're not even giving back to the community. Yeah, and I mean, if you have and that's the thing, if you have multiple Salvation Armies open up around the country, you know what I mean, like hundreds of them. Then obviously they're run like a business. Because no one's making an investment to make a Salvation Army if it's not making them money somehow. Do you know what I mean?
They make money.
Yeah,
they make money, but how you can use your money? Like I ran my youth program was a nonprofit. Now I could pay myself if I was bringing in $50,000. We'll just say a year. I could pay myself. I can explain that I need to be paid $20,000 of that, and it's legal.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because I got my time and paying myself to do all the pay and all that stuff. It's legal. So just imagine the things like I could have rid off a whole bunch of things. So actually, if I was really looking into it and running it down, actually probably only like if I had $50,000, probably only half of that would go to the cause. The other half would go to me or whoever I'm paying to get things done.
Yeah. So I mean, really, you could make all that money and just not even do anything like charitable wise with it. You could just
say you're doing it.
Yeah, and then like I said, who's gonna check you? I mean, especially when there's that many businesses and of that nature.
Yeah, and it's hard.
Coach? Oh, I think I just lost you, Coach. Yeah, you just... Hold up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you back now. Like you cut out, like you were like in mid sentence, and then something cut out.
Oh, can't. I don't know what that is. But yeah, like they'll eventually catch up to your EIN number and run through it and audit you. But if you have your paperwork up to par and you're not like pulling money out of account and putting it in personal account, all it is really documenting what you're spending the money on. If say like I wanted to go have lunch, all I gotta say is Dev, come with me. Dev, did you see that new promo I put up for the kids youth program? Yeah, we
Yeah,
talk business.
and that
I'm
lunch
paying for lunch.
that lunch is paid for then. Like it's in the
Yeah,
budget now because
stuff
you
like
were
that.
because you were using it as a business platform or
Yeah.
a platform for your charity or what have you. Yeah.
It's a thin line between that because I took a class on that and learned how to not misappropriate funds when I was doing what I was doing because my name is on that. I have an EIN number on it. I got to make sure that it's up to par. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want them to come look for me for misappropriation because that's federal. You get the feds, they're coming, you know what I mean, running down on everything. So I made sure that it was done right. I told them exactly what my time was worth and what it was worth. You know what I'm saying? And I got paid accordingly, and I was able to pay. I actually pay other people to create some kind of extra income for a couple other people cool people I know that were helping me out and families, and just ran it from there. So there's so many tricks and trades. Like that's what I'm learning. Like as we're doing what with the business that I'm going to be starting outside of doing what we're doing here. I'm learning a lot by taking a lot of these courses and classes and doing the research, and I find how businesses actually make money. You know what I mean? A lot of it has to do with how they file and how they handle things and how they write off and how to keep afloat and make money. Businesses that fail, they don't have good paperwork and bookkeeping. That's why they fail. Most of the majority that fail. It's knowing what the loopholes are that we are all privy to, that we just gotta, but like you said, the grind, like you're actually like George Carlin said, to keep it, they keep people like that, but you have to dig. That's why we always say research. I wouldn't want the $1 million. I kind of like the grind, bro.
Yeah,
It would.
that's what I was thinking, and I'm thinking like that's why I asked you that philosophical question, because like if everybody was handing like $1 million, right, and say poverty, everybody's in the like just say America's no longer impoverished, like would it feel as successful to be in the middle class because you just got there because someone handed you money
Just
and like
gave it to you?
Yeah, you know
Nah,
what I mean?
it wouldn't feel good to me.
So and that's what I mean. The capitalistic system that we live in, it depends. It literally depends upon the lower, middle, higher class dynamic. Because if the lower class isn't trying to work to get to the middle class, and the middle class isn't working to get to the higher class, and keep growing that way, then the mobility doesn't work, because the system's based on people are buying things to either because they're buying random shit that they don't need, or they're buying shit to get to the next bracket, the next tier. And that's how the economy moves forward in a capitalistic society.
Right. When you're saying that, like investing, like things that will get them there, or you're just saying
like well, okay, so here's how it would move. The lower class is trying to get to like the middle class or the higher class, right? And the higher class, this is how the trickle down economics of it works. But the higher class, then they are either investing money into the middle class and the lower class by giving them jobs, by creating jobs for them, right? And then the lower class is told, if you work, then you can work hard enough to maybe either make your own business, which most people don't, or they just work and make a life for themselves that way. And then they either get to the middle class or they stay in the lower class, right, from working. And then there's people that go from the lower class to the middle class, and if they work hard and come up with ideas and blah, blah, they get to the higher class. And the reason why the capitalistic society we live in, that's how it functions. It functions because the economy, the constant flow of money, is based upon people buying things for individual reasons. If that makes sense. So like a capitalistic society that we live in, like in America, that's really the real reason why the lower, middle, higher class dynamic exists. Because if not, a capitalistic society wouldn't work. Because if you have people that are in that middle class like all the time, well, I mean, I guess not. If everybody's like equal, like on equal playing field, people might not be treavy to spend money all the time on things, unless it was like food necessities, stuff like that. So other businesses might not buy it.
Well, the bottom line is that the reason why the trickle down effect and the reason why there is classes is because the rich wants to stay rich, bro.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
That's
Like,
the bottom line.
that's how it's supposed to work.
Everybody else.
That's how it's supposed to work, though. Like what I explained to you, and that's how the capitalist society is supposed to work. But the problem is we get poorer and poorer and poorer because the higher class, because they were supposed to invest that money into working for creating jobs for us, not just to go ship them overseas, and also to help the middle class build their businesses to get to the upper class. So there was more that. And then by helping the middle class people out, that would create room and mobility for the lower class people with their business ideas to fit in the niches the middle class left. That upward mobility, and of course the people would eventually move down. Yeah,
it's people chasing around that dog chasing or the greyhound chasing
the rabbit,
whatever around that track. How they do that? That's all it is, bro. Because I think you're cutting up a little bit, bro. That's all it is, because you can't. It's never gonna. People are born into poverty.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's never gonna and then they're taught that's the way of life. You have to live like this. It's hard to explain. We need to do something on this. Show the difference of the mentalities of people that are poor, the things that they think about, and what they do. And the people that are we'll say middle class and successful, show their compared to how they were taught, compared to their family tree, what was passed down from generation to generation, generational wealth. That could be a good one we could do some kind of documentary on. I think be a good one we could do, because you could tell I've been around rich mindseted people, in depth with them, not just meeting them, shake their hand, sitting down and listening and learning and eating, breaking bread. I've been middle class living situations, and I've been in poor situations. I've seen all that stuff, and I see the difference how people think and what it is that's passed on and that circulates in that thing. So it just keeps repeating itself until somebody breaks that thing. And I think this would be a perfect time to segue into our next subjects would be education. Now, a lot of things in the education system, I think, shouldn't this be one of them? Be telling us how finance works, how to make yourself get out of poverty, how you get yourself on a class, not just by saying, oh, you got to get a job.
Yeah, right. No, I totally agree. Well, what they're pushing now in the education system is the college thing, and me and you have had this conversation. So they push college on people. They tell you when you're in high school, you gotta get out, get a job, or you gotta go to school. Most time they're telling you to go to school because they're saying that's the best thing, because then you get out of school and you have this education to do whatever job or profession it is that you want.
Right.
Or it's gonna make, or you're gonna make more money, but you're gonna basically be in the same boat as this Joe Schmo that gets out of high school in debt, because he's not going to have debt, but he's not going to ever make as much money maybe say you do after your 4-year degree. But you're going to be so far in debt that you're finally going to be out of it maybe by your 40s. Maybe your 40s.
That.
Yeah.
If you don't have any kind of slip up in between, get a divorce, lose money, or lose stocks. I mean, anything can happen in your lifetime.
Right, exactly. And that's why I said maybe your 40s if you're good and you
if you're
lucky. Yeah. But if not, I mean, your 50s, your 60s, some people die in debt. So, I mean, from their colleges and all the other things, because once you get out of college, right, and then you got to start getting that job, you got to pay back your school debt, but then you got to get a mortgage, say if you want to get a house, or you got to pay rent, you got to get a car, if you don't have one already. And, and if you're either going to buy a nice car, because those people, I mean, they're like, well, I want to start living my life, so let me buy this and that and whatever, So, their whole life, they're basically on a payment wheel, and that's what keeps them working, is you're on that payment wheel, especially in terms of education. So, what it boils down to, though, is when you go to college, you don't get even in college, you don't get the education you need to really do entrepreneurship, which I think is more valuable. Entrepreneurship information is more valuable than what we learn in high school. There's so many things in high school that are in the curriculum that are worthless unless that's something you're going to school for. Bioscience. I think people should have a general understanding what bioscience is. You should take general courses on it. But there's some things that that we classes that we take, or they ask you to take, that they don't help you in any way, shape, or form.
And I think that's one of the things. The schools I went to, I went to a all academic school. The first half of my high school when I was in high school. They cut that school because of funding, so they had to close one and combine two. Now the other two that we were going to, it was a technical school, so you would have to pick some kind of elective that would be like a work elective, like
A
girls
skill.
had cosmetology, or yeah, or like mechanic or welding. So I'm thinking in that thing, like in that manner, like okay, you get the book stuff that you're supposed to get. Like there's some of that shit is just fucking useless. Um, but the it should be a life in general. In life, people are depending like so much. Well, they say, well, that's supposed to be taught at home. Everybody doesn't have a great home.
Yeah.
They're not, a lot of people don't have where parents, they could be loved and financially taken care of, but that still don't mean that they're being taught a proper, like, be on time, keep yourself, you know what I mean what you say, keep your word, stuff like that. You know, we used to have a math teacher that he would teach us. He was a great dude, man. He would come in great, down to earth. He, you know, shut the door and you could joke, you know, have fun, but he would only take like half of the class on speaking assignment. He said, you got to take that rest home. Now we're going to talk about life in general. You know what I'm saying? And then give us gems. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Give us gems to go out and work for something, like for your, and he would always say that too. He said, if I could go back, if I was told right now, and but now I kind of love my job, and he had a side business with his friend on the end, so he wasn't hurting for money, but he just loved what he did. He said, if I went back, I would not be doing this right now, but I fell in love with it. I keep doing it, but I achieved something else by doing it. You got to do that. You got to do that. So it was pounded in my head from people like that, and I think that should be a class in there, because these teachers are like, have you been in a school lately?
Have I been in a school lately? Last time I was in like an actual, are we talking like a college or a high school? If we're talking about high school, last time
high school. We'll
high
just use
school.
high
Last
school.
time I was in a high school was probably 2 years ago. I was in the high school for I had to go talk to kids about college, and then I dropped out. So that's a good story. So I told them, I was telling
You
them,
fucking loser.
I
No,
gave
I'm
them
just playing.
I gave them college tips. Like it was kind of weird too because I didn't sugarcoat it, because I kind of told them, like, when I went to school, I was like, listen, I was like, honestly, I was like, it's bullshit. Like most of it's bullshit. Like
You
and
told them that in front of the
well,
teacher?
yeah, in front of the guidance counselor, you know, and that's fine. They're getting my take on it. Cause I mean, I didn't say bullshit like that, but I just basically said like,
yeah.
like it's not all that. I said, and I told them there's ways to get help. Like you can talk with your professor. There was things. I mean, I liked my professors, and like we talked about stuff, and I even told them, I said, I don't like doing the after school work. I was like, I just don't like doing it. I was like, I'm so invested here in the class when I'm talking to you, when I'm learning, when I'm turning the pages, we're talking about these things. But like once I get out of here, I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not invested, and I don't want to do like this work because it's not what I was trying to do. You know what I mean? Like I had no interest in it because I'm really in this class. I'm interested in what you're saying. I want to learn it, but I'm not invested enough to be like outside of class because I know it's stuff that I'm not going to use for my major at the time, which was landscape architecture and design. What am I going to use poetry for that? I like poetry. I like talking about it, but I wasn't going to use it for nothing. And but I liked my professors, and my professors straight up told me, they're like, well, you're probably not going to go very far in college. I said, it's probably not right for me then anyway. But I stuck it out for the whole first year just to see if something changed. And
To be honest, I kind of was just for the experience. Just for the experience. Now, I don't believe in the debt. I know we're gonna have a future episode on that where we don't believe about paying for that. We'll talk about that. I don't believe that we should. I think you should be able to just go to college. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, right.
And just
That'll
get you something, that experience of life, because it's an experience. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of looking back, look at that like I should have done when I had the chance. I should have did it, but I don't know. I was thinking at that time, like, what am I gonna do? I'm looking at all this, like, none of this is what I want to do. You know what I mean? But if I would have thought about it more in depth, and I had more access to stuff, and people were telling you had more guidance from the actual people, and that's what I think they're saying up in LA with the strike, is they're overcrowded, so they're not going to be able to give you all the information.
Yeah.
They're probably going to have to pick out the best students and say, I'm going to work with them.
Yeah, and they gotta let
because
the children.
I gotta let the other ones.
The no children left behind, quote unquote, is kind of getting thrown out the window a little bit, you know, because there's so many
Right.
kids. How is
Overcrowded.
one teacher going to get to all of them? And that is still something, not for me, because I didn't come from a big school, right? I came from a small school, 20 students in a class. But you would have, like, I know State College area, like that's the Penn State area, like the high school there, Penn High. Sometimes you'd have 50, 40 kids in a class. How is one teacher supposed to help out 50, 40 kids? Or, you know, and that's what
four because you got what, about 8 periods, 7 periods,
right?
And they probably do probably six.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. They might have some of those students come back, but yeah, they're still gonna have different students regardless. So you're right. It could be upwards of like 80 to 120 different students that they have to take care of, and they don't. And that's another thing that's striking about it, is they want more support. They don't want more teachers. They want more support people in there that can aides and not just aides, but what are those words called? Not the student teachers. I can't think what the hell they're called. Like the people that are like, they're like not teachers assistants. Maybe I am thinking of the right term for them. But you know, the people that like pull the kids aside that are struggling, and like and like help catch them up. I think when I went to school, I was in one of those classes, and it was like the comprehension. They were like the comprehension teachers were like, because they thought like maybe you weren't getting something or you weren't picking up on it, so they had to take you out and study a little extra with you. I was in like one of those classes, like me and like 5 other kids. Like they would pick us out, like the ones that were like falling behind, and they'd pull you in and talk with you.
Well, you had it better than us. You just got an F if you're behind in my class.
Yeah.
We had none of that shit. But I mean, what I think also though too, like something you're saying right there is true. But I think like in those overcrowded scenarios, you do have to have a staff of people that are concerned about, because let's just face it. We'll use it in a football sense. If I got a whole team of kids, a whole team of kids I'm working with now, the kids that are coming to me asking me questions, my focus is going to be on them. Those kids that are in the back and not saying anything, they're going to get less of my time, because you see what I'm saying? That's just like how the teacher looks. But me planning, I got assistants that says your job is to get the guys that are not saying anything, get in their head, to get them to start talking and figure out what we need to figure out to get them going. So that's what you're saying. You need more support of those type people. And I just think like there's so much, like if it's overcrowded, people are just being overlooked because you got a lot of jerking off. You got a lot of people that are just in there.
Whoa, kids jerking off. High school kids, that's a little crazy, don't you? Not just playing good.
Don't say that, but you got a lot of bullshit that's just going on, and then it turns into just all disciplinary action instead of them actually learning. Because I stayed in OSS and ISS, and I gathered information. Like I always got that. In my work, I turned my work in, get the test scores, but I would never go over the limit because I didn't have no interest in none of that shit. Yeah. There was no interest in school. I would do what I had to do to get on the sporting field. That was it.
Yeah. Well, myself, and I have been in many academic suspensions because, like I said, I don't know if I'd classify it with like maybe like ADHD or just like maybe I wasn't like about it. I don't know. But like me personally, like I couldn't focus on schoolwork outside of school. Like I had set time to learn things and that was it, right? And they'd put me on academic suspensions because like they'd be like, all right, like my senior year had to write this report, right? And when it was done, whenever they forced me to sit down during school hours to do it, I typed it up. And, my teacher, Ms. McMullen, said it's a really good report. It has a lot of your flavor, blah, blah. But, you know what I mean? Like, if it was something like she said, on your own time, manage your own time and do that, right? I could care less, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to do it. And
right.
I don't know if it was I don't think it was maybe a motivation thing, but just a lack of interest. And, I think those things are kind of interesting when you talk about how the structure of the education system is. It's not really focused on like what individuals are interested in. It's more focused around a general curriculum, which I agree that there needs to be a general curriculum. Like there's certain things people should just all understand. It's why we have the rise of people that believe in like flat Earth and whatever else, because they don't get maybe the general understanding of certain aspects of science.
In all actuality, we only repeating what we're being told. That's it. We don't know what really goes on. We're just being repeated what we're being told. That's what a curriculum is. A curriculum is saying there's things we don't know. We had, I think, one of our earlier things was
Mm.
about aliens or something like that. There's things that they know that they're not telling us. There's gems, there's keys, there's keys to get yourself in successful positions. The curriculum they're teaching in school is to keep you in that class system we just talked about, the capitalist system that keeps them rich. The generations of people that they've been doing it, working and working and working and finding ways, new ways to keep it that way. That's just what it is. They're telling us what everything is, and we spew it out. I want people to come to me and say that the fucking Earth is flat,
Right.
because that means you're using your brain, even if it ain't, and it sounds crazy. At least you're not walking in that zombie of everybody else.
Well, I will say this to you, because what a lot of these science classes teach you is not to just believe something on what you're told. That's why, like, a lot of times when you have science classes, they have the labs and everything, because what they want you to do is discover how you figure things out, how you set up an experiment, how you determine things for yourself. That's actually that's
Which
what science is.
The pattern to do it.
Well, not every problem's the same. Like in science, like you have to set up something that's verifiable or falsifiable, like a hypothesis. It has to be something that can when you set up a hypothesis, it has to be something that can be falsified. Meaning, like if you have a hypothesis, like saying if this happens, then this will happen, right? Right. But I'm not just talking to you, anybody in the audience. But it has to be falsifiable. So, like, every problem is not the same. The way that you would tell the Earth's flat is the same. You'd have to figure out a way to figure out if it's actually flat or round, the same way that you would come up with a model for, say, like, how you're building your porch or anything like that. I mean, most things are a science, except for maybe like logic, mathematics, stuff like that. They're kind of rules that just exist within the universe, but like laws or whatever, like almost like they kind of have to be there. That's kind of weird, but but like most things are a science, so like everything's got to be approached slightly differently. But what the core of those classes are, not just chemistry and like the specific things, which they're just telling you how the general basis of the world works and functions in reality, but the idea of coming up with something yourself and then testing it and then trying to figure out the answers for yourself. I mean, that's what I garnered from like science class and stuff like that. Like, I mean, sure, they tell you things like why like they say like the sun is like a ball however far away, right? And then they explain how that all works in the rest of the world, and without those models, other things in the world you wouldn't understand. Like it wouldn't be
right. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There has to be a starting point somewhere. Somebody came up with that information to be that starting point where all information is built off to make these hypotheses.
Oh, right. I mean, that's just
because they're giving you the things to plug in to do it, is what I'm saying.
Right, but at the same
control that information, however they decided to come up with it. Now you're working their system to come up with the ideas. The true people, I believe, are the people like the inventors, the people that are thinking outside of the box, that are pushing that shit. They're saying that can't, you know what I mean? Those are the ones that I think are the fucking intelligent people in the world that are finding those solutions, the innovative people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh no, I agree. Innovation is key.
By beating their system.
But this is the thing. It's always going to be a system, because everything is always built off the discoveries of other people and what they find out. I mean, if we're talking about because if we didn't do that, if we didn't regurgitate the stuff that someone else found out, we'd still live in caves. Because if someone came up with an idea and said, "Hey, this works," and then we all were like, "Nah, I don't believe you," and the guy's like, "No, I can demonstrate it. It's demonstrable. Look, watch, see." And like, see how I figured this out? And they go, "Oh, okay, so that's how that works," right? And now we're to a point, right, where we build off so much now, we have an understanding of like our solar system, the universe, all this shit, right? Because we've been building off all the discoveries of people from generations and generations and generations before us. I know, because when you talk about it, like from my perspective, it sounds like you're talking about it like all the information's being controlled because they're telling you what they want you to know, because they don't want you to know what's real. But
they made up the information.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You're saying control it, as in like they're misinforming. But I believe the information they're giving you is real information. But the problem is they're not giving you the information that you need to succeed in life or be a prodigal member of society. That's my take on it. Like I don't think that people are like deliberately lying to you in school. Like I don't think like your science teacher or anything, and they are teaching you a curriculum. Don't get me
They're
wrong.
in this. They're not knowing. They're truly like you're sitting here saying what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're believing in that. Their beliefs is really doesn't have nothing. They might be
Oh no.
fascinated by a certain subject, but they're a teacher is more on the teacher, not the
Okay.
subject. They're
Right.
more in love with teaching people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not concerned about, really. There is people because those are the people that these companies hire, put them in a lab that want to challenge this stuff and figure out better ways, more capable ways. But an everyday Joe, like the ones that are striking, they're more concerned about the
Yeah.
individual that they're teaching
Right. But I mean
than the information.
right, and you're so like I said. I mean, this is just. I mean, me and you are night and day on this. I mean, because what you're
Well, yeah,
saying to
you
me.
got views. You're putting the views like you got those views. That's cool, but
Yeah.
it's just
Well, I'm
there's
just saying you would have to substantiate evidence that like your like school systems are like or the people that are in charge of making the curriculum, like the government agencies and stuff, are trying to lie to the kids because, like I said, if you're, I mean, even if you did live on a flat Earth, right? Or if
the
you did,
the school falls in the same thing as information, is media.
yeah, yeah, but I'm saying like the people at the tippity top that say what they're gonna teach the kids, right? They got to put in the textbooks and whatever else.
It's called his history. It's his story. It's they want you to know what they
right,
want you to know.
right. I mean, in history, I like if we're talking about history. Right, that's one of those things that when we're talking about history, that is a subject where things can be construed because the story can be told, like you said, history. Someone could tell the story different. I mean, if we're talking about science, I don't think it's misinformation, but I know in history that's true because they want to tell you the how they
No, I
want you to
just think
perceive it.
I
That's
don't
how it
think
gets
it's
political.
you're mistaking what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm saying the information. Like if I have a generation of people, like we're gonna always go back to this crazy. The people that they said the Rockefellers are all them rich people that keep passing down the keys of life and information to keep all their money, not tell anybody,
Uh-huh.
come up with things that they want and do it over and over and over again and not let anybody else know. They'll tell them this. You can go work hard, you can get it too, but we got the keys to this shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's never gonna change. The information, I'm saying, when they first came up with it and said this is the information that we're giving it. If we're not giving no other information, if somebody comes up with some information that they somehow find the key and they're gonna try to let it out, those are the people that disappear. Those are the people that blah 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 blah. Those type of things. That happens with our education system also. They don't want certain things to be told. They don't. They want you to go with the thing. And if they say to you, this is microism or whatever the fuck. I looked through it through a telescope or a microscope, and this is what you see. This is what this is, and they just keep passing that on and on and on and on and on. And for you to build off of anything and build any hypothesis, you have to use their information.
So you're saying okay. So your example of a microorganism underneath the telescope, or we use telescope, microscope. I don't know why I said telescope, microscope, right? So you're saying that you couldn't demonstrate that there was a microorganism like yourself. You couldn't get a microscope and look and see a microorganism for yourself, and then come up with your own hypothesis and idea about it, then test it and see if it concords with the rest of the scientific community, or just the community in general.
I'm saying that we don't even know what the fuck a microism is. They're telling us what it is. We don't know what that is. That could be a fucking something. That could be the key to life, and they're just saying like if you do something to it this way, which they already probably they know it does this, but if you do it this way, we can keep that part of it secret, and we're gonna call it this.
Right. Well, I mean, if you feel like say like that microorganism was like the key to life or the cure to cancer or whatever, and they just don't want to tell you that. I mean, technically speaking, you could, if you had the equipment available to you, you could go find that stuff out. I mean, it's demonstrable. It's like anything in reality is demonstrable, meaning like you can demonstrate it, if it's to be true. So that's where I'm at with it. Like I mean, I'm not going to go out here and say like because I can't. It's so hard to live your life if like you just assume that everything that is above you is a lie. I mean, you can live the basics of your life.
It's wrong if you pick and choose what you think is a lie. If you say, "Oh no," if you tell somebody else what they believe is not, it can't be, and you'll argue that to death.
Oh no.
You can't. You that's bullshit. But if a motherfucker challenges information, I don't. There's nothing wrong with that. I
No.
want people to challenge. You want people.
Right. I want people to
according-
challenge information, and then you can have a person go, okay, let's do this. So what's something me and you could do to show that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right? Or I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. How can we do that scenario?
Yeah,
and I think that's what that comes in.
It causes thinking assessments. All I'm saying is none of that process. What you're saying, the process is not what I'm arguing on how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that the information, if you have a certain part of information, if I told you, say I'm just going to use sports because it's just easier for me to break it down. Mm-hmm. If I started the NFL and I started football and I said, this is how it's taught. If you let this out, you'll never be in football. And I had the power to do that. I said, we're going to run wishbone. Everybody has to run wishbone. If somebody tries to come up and show them how to throw a football, you know what I'm saying? Sure, they're going to go do it, but they're not going to be able to bring it into the game because I have the power to say, no.
Right.
That's not how it's going. That's what I'm saying is happening. I'm not saying that the way to figure out things in the process by giving the information that we do have and what we've been trained to say. I'm just saying that they stop it if you get somebody that comes up with something that's like too out of sources. Do you ever wonder why some people get away with some things but other people I'm trying to find a perfect example, like inventors or stuff like that. Do you think the government like if it's too far ahead, do you think they have some kind of power where they can actually say you have to sell it to us?
What do you mean? Someone in their backyard develops nuclear technology, right? Like we're going Cold War. Someone in their backyard makes the first nuclear bomb, right? And then you're saying maybe the government has the power where they could walk up to you and say, well, listen, this is kind of a little dangerous for just you in the backyard with whatever capabilities you have to just have this. We should take this from you.
I think
that is a law, kind of similar how they would apply it probably to if something crashes from space. If things crash from space, they take all jurisdiction over it. If you find it, they're like, all right, get away. We have to take care of this. And one of those deals. I'm not sure what the exact laws are, so I'm not going to speak on it too much. But I'd suspect something similar. I mean, because if someone did make a nuclear bomb in their backyard today, even though it's pretty advanced, or they made some kind of crazy thing.
Well, there's already nuclear bombs,
right? But you're saying say
if they came up with the newest weapon,
say a laser that straight vaporize.
That could pick official off in another country,
or maybe those AI killbot things that you see advertised, where terrorists could start making robots that know who to kill just by face recognition.
Yeah, just the newest thing that the governments don't have, and you're so far ahead of your time. What do you do with that information as a person that says, "Oh my God," and nobody has this? What am I supposed to do? Do you if you try to get to? I don't know. I don't know what I would do, bro. To be honest.
Okay, so you're saying, if you're the guy in the shoes of the guy who made the killer robot, we'll say you made the killer robot, right? Are you saying if you're that guy?
Shit. Nobody even knows about it. It's
right.
Blowing everybody's
And then so now are we saying the hypothetical is that the government finds out and they show up at your door saying, "Hey, we're taking this."
Yeah. Do they have that law to just do that, or would they say to you,
well,
we're going to pay you for this technology. We're going to give you blah, 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 so much money for the technology, and then leave it at that?
Well, we'll take it as a hypothetical. There's probably two ways it'd go down. Probably three ways. Either it's too dangerous, you know too much, you're dead.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the least likely, because if you have
they would need you.
Yeah, if you have that if you have good notes and you have scientists that could piece it together or whatever, then they would just take the notes and leave you, gone because you know too much. But
put it up
that's what I was gonna say. 48 laws of power stuff. You got to make yourself valuable, make them play with the cards you deal. So you have to say, well, if you want that information, I already burn it. I'm like, it's all up in here. You want me to build that again? And then that puts you in that position. And also too, so there's that, or they just, like you said, either they take you in, they say, all right, you're gonna build this.
You have to work for us
now. Yeah, you're building this, you got to work for us now. This is the deal. Or they would say the same thing where like they'd put you maybe like in some kind of protection thing where they'd say, all right, we're paying you this much now to take disappear, and we're taking this, like, you know, you're gonna get money with like Beijing. And
I think it happens a lot, to be honest, where they, you know, they just find somebody that comes up with a new thing. And I think most people in that line, like invention, like scientists and stuff when they come up with stuff, I think that type of person would more likely want to go to the government first and say, hey, this is what we came up with. You know, I think they're more of the, like, somebody scientist wise, if you're not doing it, I don't think too many people are like, I need that money, but I'm sure they're going to get to that point, but they're more fascinated by what they did and want to see the growth of it. So I think they would be easier to control somebody in that manner. I guess it would depend on what is your motivation and what happens to you.
Yeah, right. Well, here's actually a really good example of two examples that will really illustrate this. So Nikola Tesla, right? Are you familiar with Nikola Tesla? You know, DC versus AC, I believe. And like the different current systems, you know, and what happened was he got taken advantage of by a businessman. A businessman took advantage of him. That's usually why innovation and science don't mix very well with business sometimes, because businessmen will take a person with ideas like that and say, and then what they'll do is they'll milk them because on top of that they probably have other innovations on top of the innovation they just made. So like, all right, well then they'll keep you around, but they'll keep you on a paycheck because you could make way more money doing that, you know. And I think what you said kind of makes more sense. We're like, for people that are innovating and creating new things to go to the government, you know, they want that bag. Like, they want that right away because they'd rather not have to. Minds, and they'd rather not have to go through the businesses, the big businesses, to get that thing. They're rather like, I'd rather just talk to you, mano a mano. What do you need from us to either keep producing this or, you know, how is it going to improve our government or our country? They'd rather do that than sell it to the business guy who's going to, you know, milk them. And then once they get that patent or they get all that information, they start mass producing it, you know, and then it becomes the government's kind of issue. Like 3D printing is becoming a problem, like something like that. Because
that's crazy. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Right, and that's what I'm saying is like the government now is like in a predicament because maybe if they got to it first and then were able to make the legislation, shit like that, but no, people were making 3D printers, the science people were embedded with the business people, and then that's how that whole debacle came down where the guy's like, well, can I make a gun? And then the 3D printer people were like, well, yeah, we'll help you make one, pay us a little bit, you know? So that's what I mean. Like,
didn't they win something on that? Didn't they win? Were they won?
It was a court case. It was, I think, was it a lawsuit or I think it was like a government thing, like because of free speech. I think that they told them
they were trying to stop them. Yeah, they were trying to stop them from doing it, but they won the case to keep doing it. They just had to follow a certain.
Yeah, I actually listened to a lawsuit or a podcast about it, talking about this whole situation. And at first they lost, but then they challenged and appealed it, and then they won. So it's very interesting. That's crazy,
though. I watched a show about a 3D printer before, and I was like, holy fuck. That is like, that's got to be, like, you can just turn your printer on and just say, all right, I need this. Aren't they able to make food with it now or something?
I don't think it's not 100% possible yet. They're working on it, though. Like, they could print cells, like, because what they need first would be, like, to do a blueprint of cells. That's what they're planning on doing with it. Yeah, like they could go down the molecular level and make cells. Like that's something probably it's gonna be it's a little ways away, but it could be done. Which you're right. They could make food with it. Probably they could probably reenact like plant fibers and make veggie burgers and like spinach and like basically clone shit. Like, you know.
But in saying that, just you know, just to get into that switching and would you want to be like how they have these big fights and with the stem cells? Would you want to have that kind of treatment if it meant saving your life?
A stem cell treatment? I think so. I think if I could have it, I would want that treatment to save my life. I mean,
to extend your life and like live past the like.
I mean, it depends on what the treatment would be. I mean, you know, like what kind of treatment are we talking? Like, are they gonna have to do like a whole like transplant of stem cells and like put them in like just like say like I have like a heart problem, right? Mm-hmm. And they put the stem cells in my heart to regrow pieces of tissue of my heart so I could live longer or, you know, repair it.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever,
just like that.
whatever it would be. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, or you have like, what is it? Michael J. Fox has Parkinson's,
Yeah.
where he's fighting to get it, where it could help him with his Parkinson's
Yeah, like help him
and
rebuild parts of his brain that are like all fucked up.
stuff like that. I
Mm.
mean, if I thought about it, like if I could, if there was something that it could extend my, I would want to be a part of that as long as it wasn't taking who I was from me. Is it going to affect who I am? Is it going to tell me that I'm not
You want to?
coaching?
Oh no, no. Like, because the stem cells. I mean, the only thing that the stem cells would do, they wouldn't change who you are because they're just because what stem cells are good at. That's why we use them is because they conform to like any kind of. They're like the base cell, right? They could become any kind of cell. So they could become heart tissue cells. They could become muscle tissue cells. They could become brain tissue cells.
They're just replicating.
Yeah. So they
yeah.
and what they would do is they would just become the part of your cells that like they would conform to the cells you already have in your brain. So it wouldn't like change you. Which by the way, we're cells in our brain, our hands, our skin are dying constantly. So like we're literally this is like a really weird paradox kind of question that's crazy like to think about. It's a philosophical question. Like, you know how like we look at a picture of ourselves when we're babies, right? And we say, oh, that's us, right? But think about it, not one molecule, like basically if we're talking like 40 years from now, there are like no cells the same that were in that version of us then than there are now. Like all
Yeah.
the cells have died and
That's
replicated.
how you're aging. That's how you're growing. That's how
Right.
you're, you know.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
still crazy to think though that like is it still if every part of you that like when you were born is gone now and replicated with a new cell, is that still you? Or because you're not the same amount things that you were when you were a kid, which is crazy. I always like
That's what
what I was gonna
sorry,
say is
that's my
like
phone.
so like I'm not really like I said I don't believe in a god or anything, but that is interesting though when you think about that because then it makes you think about mind body dualism, which is like maybe there's some kind of consciousness that like exists outside of us, like we understand like who we are like from past or whatever. I mean maybe we remember pictures of ourselves what we look like, but still that shit's kind of crazy to me, you know?
Yeah, it was just one of those things. I think we need to do like an episode on that. Find some people that are like compare the like we were talking about this. We were like the AI. I always wanted to delve real deep into the AI and then compare it into something like even have that comparison. What would be better for us? The like to prolong our lives with like stem cells and stuff like that, or to just like let the AI what's gonna which one's worse? Which one's gonna change the work for the worse? Do we think it would be the AI, or we think it would be like extending our lives by using, you know, stem
Artificial.
cells, stuff like that?
Okay, what would be the cons of using stem cells? Do you have any idea of cons? Because I can't think of one on the top of my head that stem cells.
We don't. The
Yeah.
only thing I could think of would be is what are the long-term effects of it? Like, is there any long-term effects that because you know we're quick to just jump into something here,
Right.
you know, without actually getting long-term effects. And so could it mutate 20 years from now? Now I'm turning into something that's evil, and it takes me out of my. That's what I was trying to say
Oh,
before.
right. Oh, no.
Is it going to take Matt away from being Matt?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I turn into an evil piece of shit and try to take over the world. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. No, but like what we know about biology, stem cells don't act that way. What is something that could happen is ERVs or like genetic diseases. Say like a batch of the stem cells that you got had some kind of genetic disease in them, right? And like they became cancerous. That would be a problem. But like as far as like mutating you, that's out of the question. Like that, because what mutations would end up happening is usually they would become cancerous before they would change you like at a mental level. You know what I mean? Or like a physical level. They would end up like cancerous or tumorous at that point. It would be a genetic kind of thing. But like I said, stem cells, they just conform to your cells. That's why they're highly prized.
Of
It
what
would
we
be
know of.
yeah.
Of what we know of. We
Right.
didn't know this years ago that it could be done. Now we do. But what I'm saying is we don't know 20 years from now if everybody that got stem cells gets fucking touches this flower in Asia and it passes on, that it could react and turn into something crazy. We don't know because according to what you just said before, is those hypotheses and challenging the information
Right.
because you
Yeah. Usually,
if you
I mean.
didn't challenge it, if you
Mhm.
didn't get challenged yet, there's no way to know. All we can go on is the information we have
There are people
right
that have
now.
received stem cells. I don't
Huh?
know if they. There's people that have received stem cells.
Yeah, I know.
I do. So I mean, those are your test subjects. I mean, we could go look up and see maybe like what they're because I'm sure since those people receive them, they have those people sitting down and they're talking with them every year or so and checking up on them because that's someone's money. Someone probably bought stock in some stem production company and they're waiting for that that red flag to go away for the stem cell research, and then they're gonna be in business again. And they're going to be checking up on those because those people are kind of like their investments. And I'm sure they still do stem cell research on like various animals and stuff too. Just using the stem cells from like other animal fetuses to see like how that works. The same general principles would probably apply, for most animals. But I do agree with what you're saying.
I'm gonna be in the lookout for some people that are into that have a real in depth, so we can have that conversation because it's just those questions where you just be like, really. Like what is if you could really extend if you could I guess my question is this. If I can extend my the average life expectancy's been around this for it goes up
Right.
with technology, but if I could say today okay, men are what about 75 years old now, life expectancy, if I could say to you right now, if you start doing this treatment and going to the doctor, maybe getting this shot of this and it rejuvenates this, we can add on another 50 years to your life.
Yeah. I don't know though, but see, that would be one of those things too. Is it going to be a good 50 years or I'm going to be alive 50 years?
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like, well, you're going to be alive for 50 more years, but
am I going to be alive or am I going
to be living? Cuz I'd rather have 75 good years than 120 well, I mean, the first 75 until the shot would be good, but then once you get the shot, okay, you get an extra 50, but then is that going to be shitty? You're going to eventually you're going to start when you die, it's going to be horrible, painful tumors and from my perspective, I guess that the end doesn't matter because pain and everything's temporary, but unless like I said, the mind-body dualism thing comes into play, which by the way, I like tonight's conversation because we've been all over the fucking place, but it's cool.
That's how you do it, man. Let it flow.
But that mind-body dualism thing, so it is interesting, either way. I think I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things.
125 becomes the new 75.
If it was like that, then yes.
I want to see as much as I can and try to gather it in because to me, I love life, and to me, it's more of seeing the growth. You know how you get those deja vu moments and then those memories pop up? This happens to me a lot.
I agree. Are you talking when you're in an event and you've seen it exactly as it's happening, but it's the future and you've seen it in the past or in the present? And that
I was really saying two different things. The deja vu happens to me a lot. I can't explain that. But I was also saying I think of things in the past, and then when I see say when I was 7 and then I see a 7-year-old now what they're doing. They got cell phones and I'm yo, I was playing with a fucking stick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you want to see
I want to see where it's at years from now.
You know what I was thinking about is George Carlin, again, to bring him back up. How he always made that point that I think is so funny was he says, he's if you live in America, you get the front row seat to the show because he's you can't change anything. You might as well just watch the show and enjoy it, right? It's kind of like that 48 Laws of Powers perspective where it's if the world's a fucked up place, so you're going to have to learn how to play the game. So I like that George Carlin mentality though, where he's you know what, shows the world's fucked up. He's but he's I'm not gonna get too worked up about it. He's I'm gonna talk about it, say the truth. He's but I'm not gonna get too worked up about it. He said I'm just gonna watch the show and see how it unfolds. And I think that's still the perspective. I think with what you're saying. I want to live longer to see how the show unfolds.
I just would like to see it. Yeah, were they right when they were saying in the how people say in year 2087 we'll have this. I would just like to see one of those things that I know are past my life but who knows? Maybe after we leave here, we're able to have front row seats up in the bleachers just watching it.
Yeah, or
who knows?
or or like global warming, that shit. Like I wonder, like, because like how the government's kind of greedy and shit like that, and like all these companies are like that, and like global warming, that whole business. That would be crazy too, to like watch like how that whole catastrophe unfolds or whatever, and shit
Is
like
it going to
that.
become? Yeah. Are they gonna tear it down and just let the people really be we the people and let us do things instead of having like what? No matter how you say it, a government. If a government is there doing what they're doing, to me that's just dictatorship because they're basically doing whatever the fuck they want to do. They're
Yeah, right.
just not. They're just not doing it in the way like right out in the open like some of these other dictators are. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah. They're not like
they're more
bossing you around the
sneaky
open.
about it.
They're just like, all right, we'll pretend you have a choice, but you really don't. Like, this is the options. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying. So yeah, I don't know. I think I would have to take it. I'd have to take the chance to live longer. I mean, I think anybody was. I think anybody has to. And it would be good. But I think technology always moves at like I said, at an accelerated pace. The more and more you learn, the faster it'll grow. Just like most things in life, the more you have, the faster it gets. Like money accumulation. Usually, if you're making more money and you know how to place it and use it, you can use that money to make even more money.
More money quicker. They say the hardest million to make is your first. After that, it's all downhill. You just got to keep going with the motivation you had before, and it'll just easily fall in place.
Yeah. So, like I said, yeah, I think definitely like that would just be cool because who knows? They might even like figure out like warp shit and like know how to go to like other parts of space. Wouldn't that be fucking nuts? Like me and you, we're about to hit our deathbed like a year before we're about to die, and we get to go to like an Alpha Centauri or something, and we're like, wow, there's another star. That'd be something to see like before you go out. That'd be so cool.
Or the this would interest me also. Or just like where think about like the things that we play now physically out, like sports, like football. Where would that be in like 100 years?
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Are you playing at like you don't have to leave your couch and you just put on the quick like how they have that.
Anybody could become like a football star in the world, like, and it's like an pro gamer kind of thing now. Like, it doesn't matter about your physical fitness. That'd be kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, both of them. It'd have to be both of them.
Yeah, to make it competitive.
That. You would have to be you'd have to physically train, and then you would have to gaming train too, and mix those both together. But think how many athletes would actually probably fall off.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Ooh. There's so many things about the future. This is such a good hypothetical. This is like one of those hypotheticals when we get the show and tell segment up. I just want to like pose this hypothetical to everybody in the chat room and just be like, what do you think?
This would be excellent to fucking be able to take some phone calls or get some live chats going on. Be like, what do you think? And hear the weird tinfoil shit people are gonna say. You know what I'm saying? I love that shit. I love when somebody tells me something so fucking outrageous that it makes me say, that is so fucking stupid that I gotta think about that for a minute.
Yeah, hold up. It's not something I hear every day. This is not your typical Tom fuckery right here. Like I gotta look into this. All right, well, Coach.
Yeah, it's been a good one, long one too.
It's been a long hour and a half. I've been enjoying this with you, Coach, but we gotta cut this up. We gotta cut the show. Again, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. We've touched on such a range of topics tonight. I think that this is actually one of the I just liked it because it was just it was like the most, it was like, I think it was the most natural show we ever had, where we were just like, whoa, think about this.
We just let it flow, you know what I mean? Because we were supposed to have something happening tonight. It didn't happen. That happened. So you got to be able to adjust. So we came up with the content we needed to right on the spot and did it. I appreciate that. Hey, and shout out to
Sada.
Our new crew member, Sada Massey is her name.
Yep.
She's going to be helping us in the research department and help us structure the show. So she's a member of the crew. So we want to welcome her. And she will be working on an episode in like 2 weeks, and then we'll introduce her. Yeah, we'll introduce her somehow and give her the credit that anybody who works around here and helps us out is going to get that credit. So
yeah, like I said, content writing, helping us with topics, research, stuff like that. She's gonna be an incremental piece to our machine we got going on here. Our cause, yeah, it's gonna be great. All right, anything else you have, Coach?
No, that's it, man. Just everybody like, share, comment, get over to the YouTube. We need to get these subscribers to get up because we want to make some moves. We need those subscribers. So if you see our video, get over there, shoot over there to the YouTube and just hit the subscribe. And if you're feeling freaky, go up and hit the bell so you get the notifications when you need to.
Get real freaky with it. Also, yeah, I don't know if I got to make this announcement yet, but we are on Spotify now, ladies and gentlemen. We have one show up on Spotify right now.
My board.
Our first one, and I will probably put this one up as our second one. And like I said, if you have the Premiere or the Spotify Premium, you know, you could probably download these episodes and listen to them at work, you know, so you can listen to something rather than the same 5 songs you've heard. Tracy, yeah, I'm talking to you, Tracy. If your name's Tracy, you're probably really freaked out if your name's Tracy, but I know you listen to the same 5 Justin Bieber songs.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
I know you.
Justin Bieber?
Mm-hmm.
Have we even got music from him in a while?
No, I don't know, but listen, I know girls that are still believers.
They're still believers?
Yeah, there's still believers out there. All right, we definitely going to end the show on that note. As always, stay beautiful. Take care, guys. See ya.